Hello, good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 TV. I am Nana Tufo Boateng. I have some good news for you because in the year 2024, Ghana raked in $4.8 billion in terms of tourism revenue. Now, this came from some 1.288 million international visitors who came into the country, representing a 12% increase in previous performances regarding revenue from the tourism sector. Now, this is absolutely fantastic. We can begin to copy the examples of countries like France, like Spain, like Italy, who have maximized the tourism potential and are raking in some good revenue, a significant contribution to their country's GDP. We can do same here. There are examples out there that we can copy and replicate same here that will help us grow and, of course, rake in the needed revenue. Listen, there's so much tourism potential in the country that we even overlook. Take our food, for example. Across the entire country, the length and breadth of this country, different foods from all the way up north to the coast, different foods cut across. We can package our food as tourism and sell it to the international community out there. And then, of course, the various festivals which we have in this country, also a possible tourism potential in there. So we should be deliberate, we should have an actionable plan, and we should target same in order to rake in the needed revenue. That said, all the gains made can be eroded if we're not particular about what we're doing with tourism in the country. We travel across the country every year in March as part of the Heritage Caravan. And what we find is that roads leading to our various tourist sites are not in good shape. Okay, restrooms on the way to the tourist site and even at the tourist site, not too good, in some cases absent. And so in as much as we are counting the benefits of the visitors coming into the country and we generating revenue from them based on the expenditure in the country, we should make our tourist sites attractive enough. They should be tourist friendly so that we can have enough people patronizing these sites, even as we continue to look at other ways of maximizing profit within the tourism sector. It's absolutely a huge revenue generation sector if we are particular, if we are serious, we have deliberate, targeted plans that can be executed within a specific timeline. This will go a long way to help us generate revenue, to add on, and of course, make tourism a significant contributor to our GDP. That said, thank you so much. Peace, shalom. All right, let's get into our business for the day. Today, we have a lot coming your way on the show. And I hope yesterday you had the opportunity to be part of the Volunteers TV show, which airs every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. The show is designed to whip up or reignite or reawaken the spirit of volunteerism amongst Ghanaians, especially the youth. Most of us who have thrown away this particular spirit and are always looking for returns in any activity. It's time you join the show every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. We'll give you reasons why you should volunteer and avenues for volunteerism. So please be a part of the Volunteers TV show, which airs every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. with your host, Stephen Kwaku Dakun. And of course, you wouldn't leave the show, or you wouldn't end the show without learning a thing or two about volunteerism. All right, let's get into the newspapers for today. We're starting off with the Chronicle newspaper. The front page of the Chronicle says, Africa expansion, Zoom Lion touches down in Kenya, ready to forge strategic partnership. Africa expansion, Zoom Lion touches down in Kenya, ready to forge strategic partnership. Heath Goldfields ordered to cease operations at Bogoso Prestea. Heath Goldfields ordered to cease operations at Bogoso Prestea. And then you have Jampo flies off the handle over misconduct allegation. Jampo flies off the handle over misconduct allegation. That's Professor Ransford Jampo. He is the CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority. Our scripture for the day is from the book of Proverbs chapter 10, the verse number 4. Lazy hands make a man poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. Self-explanatory, isn't it? Proverbs 10:4. Lazy hands make a man poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. Basically, that's what it's saying. That's the Chronicle newspaper for today. I'll take you to the Daily Guide. Front page says, Ken leads NPP flag bearer race with 51.4%. This is according to a survey, which survey we understand was conducted by the Sanity Africa, a Pan-African civil society organization. And this survey puts Kennedy Japan ahead in the NPP flag bearer race with 51.4%. Interesting times ahead. Brian Achampon's popularity surges, also on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Agrada 15-year jail term causes stir. Ablekuma North Parliamentary, NPP rejects EC's rerun. We're being told that the NPP is in court. They filed an injunction, which injunction seeks to stop the EC from doing a rerun or conducting a rerun of the elections in 19 polling stations in Ablekuma North. We'll see how that pans out, if they're able to secure that injunction, or the EC will have a go-ahead to conduct the rerun, and whether or not, if the EC has the go-ahead to conduct the rerun, the NPP will participate. We'll see how it goes. All right. Then there's another story that says, Edubuahin loses national security accounts fight. Edubuahin loses national security account fight. That's the Daily Guide newspaper for today. Let's go to the Herald. The Herald newspaper says, Mahama finds solution for Akufo-Addo's $400 million National Cathedral hole. Mahama finds solution for Akufo-Addo's $400 million National Cathedral hole. Government shuts down Heath Goldfield's operations at Bogoso Prestia mines, cites safety and regulatory breaches. Cocoa Board adopts new performance framework. Cocoa Board adopts new performance framework. NACOC bust huge cannabis at Kotoka Airport. NACOC bust huge cannabis at Kotoka Airport. Presidential pardon call for wheelchair-bound Atu ASEAN intensify amid deteriorating health. Presidential pardon call for wheelchair-bound Atu ASEAN intensify amid deteriorating health. That's the Herald newspaper. The News Center is here. News Center says multiple taxes kick in. Now, it's interesting that on the 1st of July, a number of taxes took effect or came into effect, but we were busy praying, so we didn't notice. Okay. Now, I'll give you an idea of the taxes. We have 15% VAT on non-life insurance. You have real estate tax, you have plastics, you have informal sector, among others. And so the News Center is reporting that multiple taxes kick in on insurance, real estate, plastics, informal sector, etc. Obasanjo to ECOWAS, reform or become irrelevant. Reform or become irrelevant. That's the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, speaking there. He was the lecturer at the Republic Day lecture under the auspices of the One Ghana movement last week. Baba Sam petitions CJ over judicial abuse in custody case. Baba Sam petitions CJ over judicial abuse in custody case. Mahama government to complete National Cathedral. Mahama government to complete National Cathedral. It's captured actually in the 24-hour economy policy document under Show 24. And this will now fall under the creatives, tourism, and others. And we're being told that it will be converted not necessarily or completed not necessarily as a national cathedral, but an avenue for other events as well. So grab a copy of the document and you can get the details there. Story says Mahama to complete National Cathedral. 42 new HIV infections recorded daily in Ghana. 42 new HIV infections recorded daily in Ghana. We spoke about this on the show last Friday, and it's important that we take responsibility for our health. Better to take precautionary measures and ensure prevention than to stay on medicines the rest of your life. MIDA to drive Grow 24 with proven MCC models. MIDA to drive Grow 24 with proven MCC models. Grow 24 is also under the government's 24-hour economy policy. So that's the news center this morning. Let me take you to the Informer. Informer says, education must not be rationed, Mahama declares as he launches no fees stress policy. Education must not be rationed, Mahama declares as he launches no fees stress policy. Dismissal rooted in past misconduct. OSP clarifies sacking of former DSO. Dismissal rooted in past misconduct. OSP clarifies sacking of former DSO. Don't create authority for 24-hour economy. Varsity Dawn cautions government. Don't create authority for 24-hour economy. Varsity Dawn cautions government. Zoomlion deepens partnership with Kenya. Zoomlion deepens partnership with Kenya. Ablekuma North election rerun. EC afraid of NDC. This is according to Kofi Bento. Ablekuma North election rerun. EC afraid of NDC. And then you have NLA intensifies support for good cause. That's the front page of the Informer newspaper. The Inquisitor is here. Inquisitor says, revealed why OSP fired DSO. BNI records out. Revealed why OSP fired DSO. BNI records out. Balanced scorecard for Cocoa Board staff. Balanced scorecard for Cocoa Board staff. Look into 2024 electoral violence with speed. Mahama to IGP. Look into 2024 electoral violence with speed. And then you have NACOC intercepts UK-bound ganja at Swissport Terminal. NACOC intercepts UK-bound ganja at Swissport Terminal. That's the front page of the Inquisitor newspaper. The Custodian is here. Custodian says, you can't blame me for ECG's woes. Afenyo Markin slams Reku Brobe. You can't blame me for ECG's woes. Afenyo Markin slams Reku Brobe. Ghana-India ties deepened. Minority Lords PM Modi's historic visit. Ghana-India ties deepened. Minority Lords PM Modi's historic visit. Baba Sam petitions acting CJ over judicial bias. Baba Sam petitions acting CJ over judicial bias. And then you have Zoomlion clinches strategic business deal in Kenya. Zoomlion clinches strategic business deal in Kenya. That's the Custodian newspaper. And then there are a number of stories on the back page as well. I'll bring you the Ghanaian publisher. Ghanaian publisher also has the Zoomlion stories. Zoomlion secures a major deal in Kenya. Zoomlion secures major deal in Kenya. U.S. investor Rudy Moyes backs Ghana for business. U.S. investor Rudy Moyes backs Ghana for business. Reku Brobe accusing me falsely on ECG losses. That's Afenyo Markin, the minority leader, speaking, saying that Reku Brobe is accusing him falsely on the matter of ECG losses. Baba Sam seeks CJ's help in custody dispute. That's the Ghanaian publisher. From one publisher to the other, this time we're looking at the new publisher. New publisher also has the minority leaders, if you like, reaction to Charles Reku Brobe. And he says, Tarzan attacking me with untruths. And there's a quote here that says, I was not the chairman of the ECG board in 2023, as Dr. Reku Brobe suggested. I was appointed by His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on 16th July 2024 and officially sworn in as board chairman of ECG on 17th July 2024. So Afenyo Markin there responding to Charles Reku Brobe, also known as Tarzan. Parliament to sit on Mondays and Saturdays. Parliament to sit on Mondays and Saturdays. Asabi wants NPP reformed before flag bearer primaries. Asabi wants NPP reformed before flag bearer primaries. Robbers attacked Trotro, shoot 4 passengers. Ooh, that's a worrying one. Robbers attacked Trotro, shoot 4 passengers. Get a copy of the new publisher. You get the details of that story. Let's bring you some business papers. The Economy Times is here. Says Ghana plans resumption of issuing CD bond from September. Ghana plans resumption of issuing CD bond from September. Analysts predict single-digit inflation by third quarter amidst threat from utilities price hike. Analysts predict single-digit inflation by quarter 3 amidst threat from utilities price hike. And you have government to receive $370 million from IMF, optimistic of board approval. That's the Economy Times. The Business and Financial Times is here, quite bulky today. Front page story, President of Pure Earth will lead high-level delegation. President of Pure Earth will lead high-level delegation. Zoomlion deepens Africa expansion with strategic partnership in Kenya. Zoomlion deepens Africa expansion with strategic partnership in Kenya. $1.17 billion in Eurobond coupons paid since debt deal. $1.17 billion in Eurobond coupons paid since debt deal. Fulfills second coupon of $349.5 million for 2025. Eyes $1.4 billion due in 2026. Front page of the BNFT. And then when you go on the back page, you have a story that says government treatment of Zoomlion threatens investor confidence. This is according to a lecturer at UPSA. He says government treatment of Zoomlion threatens investor confidence. Then consumer electronics importers visit Energy Commission. That's the BNFT, wrapping up the papers for today. I'm going to take you online shortly. I'm going to start from channel1news.com. Channel1news.com has that unfortunate incident from the north. Bimbilla Senior High School student killed by stray bullet during fire festival. Bimbilla Senior High School student killed by stray bullet during fire festival. It raises a lot of questions. I mean, I have issues with the firing of musketry during funerals and all these festivals. But hey, they'll tell you tradition is tradition. But there should be a way to go about it so that we don't have some of these casualties that we are recording. But of course, there's more that needs to be done. We hope that authorities will pay attention to some of these things. On the chat with Echo Kumsen every Saturday, Jubed was a guest, and he says, Rime's style and Sarkodie's advice shaped my career. So go online to channel1news.com and then you get details of that. Edem Agbana is speaking here. He was on the big issue on Saturday, and he says NDC will leave no stone unturned in Ablekuma North rerun. NDC will leave no stone unturned in Ablekuma North rerun. That's Edem Agbana speaking there. 24-hour economy must create jobs or NDC will pay politically. That's Musa Dankwa issuing that warning. He's the executive director of Global Info Analytics. He says 24-hour economy must create jobs or NDC will pay politically. EC's Ablekuma North rerun directive influenced by Asiedun Ketie's outburst. This is according to the New Patriotic Party, NPP. EC's Ablekuma North rerun directive influenced by Asiedun Ketie's outburst. As the NPP speaking there. Leverage pension funds to support implementation of 24-hour economy. That's Nelson Kuagbeji speaking. Leverage pension funds to support implementation of 24-hour economy. And it's attributed to Nelson Kuagbeji. NDC will win Ablekuma North seat after rerun. NDC will win Ablekuma North seat after rerun. That's Edem Agbana speaking. Pius Hajide is here and he says Ghanaians saddened by NPP's exit from power. Ghanaians saddened by NPP's exit from power. And that's according to Pius Enam Hajide. The same Ghanaians who voted the party out are saddened. Well, we'll leave it to the good people of Ghana to decide. Hajj task force admits mistaken identity in death report of Ghanaian pilgrim. It's an interesting story because so the Hajj task force brings a death certificate and belongings of a pilgrim who went on the Hajj with them to the family and reports that this woman unfortunately lost her life in Makkah, the holy city of Makkah. Now, for most Muslims, if you die during the pilgrimage, it's not so bad a news. It's actually welcomed. Okay, so the family went ahead to do a burial service, only for the woman to return. And you can imagine what happened within that community. But then the Hajj task force is saying it was a matter of mistaken identity, someone bearing similar name that passed on during the pilgrimage. And so the issue has been rectified. The woman is back home safe and sound, and the family has welcomed her. All right, moving on to some other stories. Mahama launches no fees stress policy for first-year students. Mahama launches no fees stress policy for first-year students. You don't have legal recognition, Professor Jinapo tells Tewu GH. This Tewu matter too. Okay, maybe we'll find time to look into it. All right, let me take you to citynewsroom.com. citynewsroom.com. NPP and Minority Caucus to converge at Yoko over detention of Abdul Wahab Hanan. We know that the former CEO of the Buffer Stock Company is still in detention. He is yet to meet the bail conditions set for him. His wife, we understand, has been released on bail. The NPP, together with the minority in Parliament, have announced that there's going to be a demonstration today, or there's going to be a protest at Yoko over what they describe as unlawful and prolonged detention of Abdul Wahab Hanan. We'll be there, our cameras will be there, we'll bring you details of that particular protest. Now to some other stories. A Small Arms Commission demands a swift passage of firearms regulation bill. Small Arms Commission demands a swift passage of firearms regulation bill. Then you have minority demands answers from Lands Minister on Galamsey crisis. Minority demands answers from Lands Minister on Galamsey crisis. Extend mobile phone ban to teachers and invigilators during examinations. That's the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, speaking there. Extend mobile phone ban to teachers and invigilators during examinations. NPP files injunction to block Ablekuma North rerun. And that's Salam Mustafa of the NPP speaking there. He was on the Channel 1 newsroom and he made that revelation that the NPP has filed an injunction to block the Ablekuma North rerun. We'll be bringing some perspectives to this matter on the show. Bono Region ambulance service in crisis. Few vehicles left to serve region. These are some of the the stories that I find, if you like, worrying. That we will sit and wait for there to be a crisis, and then we'll begin to go back to the usual procurement economy, doing procurements here and there for people to enrich themselves over issues that could have been addressed right at the start. But we'll wait and see what happens. The story is that the Bono Region ambulance service is in crisis. Few vehicles left to serve the entire region. It's quite disturbing. We need to prioritize our health system and, of course, our emergency response system. Now, to some other stories. Fire festival shooting incident avoidable. Celebrants ignored warnings. That's the Small Arms Commission. We need to find regulation on the misuse or the abuse of firearms in this country. And like I said, the firing of musketry during festivals and funerals. There should be some regulation around this so that we avoid some of these incidents that result in fatalities and, of course, people being maimed for life and all. Fire festival shooting incident avoidable. Celebrants ignored warnings. And this according to the Small Arms Commission. Police arrest one suspect in Kasua Winneba Road robbery. Police arrest one suspect in Kasua Winneba Road robbery. TEU TUC condemns breakaway union strike as illegal and disruptive. TEU TUC condemns breakaway union strike as illegal and disruptive. Robbery attack on Winneba Highway leaves 4 passengers injured. Robbery attack on Winneba Highway leaves 4 passengers injured. And academic title abuse eroding tertiary credibility. as according to the Vice Chancellors of Technical Universities. They say academic title abuse eroding tertiary credibility. Go online, citynewsroom.com, as well as channel1news.com, and you can get the details of these stories and more. All right, so patronize these two websites, channel1news.com and citynewsroom.com. I am Nana Tufo Boateng. You're watching Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 TV. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When the stars come out, Ghana Weekend turns up the lights. From the hottest red carpet moments to the wildest after parties. And for all your celebrations, anniversaries, and unforgettable moments, if it's happening, we're there. First, fast, and fabulously. Your front row pass to Ghana's A-list lifestyle is just a click or a channel away. GhanaWeekend.com and Ghana Weekend TV, where fame meets the fans. Promote your next big event with us, because when you party with the stars, the whole nation of black stars should know. Visit GhanaWeekend.com, watch and subscribe to Ghana Weekend TV on YouTube. Stay connected with us across all platforms. Follow us on Instagram with the handle at GhanaWeekend.com. On X at Ghana Weekend, on TikTok, Ghana Weekend, and on Facebook at Ghana Weekend. Join the Ghana Weekend family today. Ghana Weekend, all access, all glam, all yours.
Where politics meets power, where the tough questions are asked, welcome to Face to Face. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m., join Umaru Sanda Amadou as he takes you face to face with the key players shaping the future of our nation.
I lost over $10 million at the trade fair.
You had a fight with the management of trade fair?
I don't have a fight with them. I just deplore the way they went about what they did.
Let's talk about the chief prosecutor of the state at the time that you were being prosecuted, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, the Attorney General.
Yes. I think he was directed to jail us.
By who?
By the system.
Boku has been a failure for your government, though.
Can't be a failure.
You have not solved it.
No, you are not praising them, the previous government for solving Yende, which was even a more difficult case.
It's quite obvious that from these votes, the people felt that let's just let you go.
So they were disappointed
in us.
You are essentially the worst government in the Fourth Republic.
I don't know how you are doing that. If you based on the indicators.
Yes, based on the number of people who refuse to come and vote for you.
If that is your analysis, then why not?
No filter, no boundaries, just the truth behind the headlines. Deep, bold, and unflinching. Face to Face with Umaru Sanda Amadou airs on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV, where politics gets real.
In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline, and I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensa.
From social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters, Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop Fred Crunchy Mensa.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
Hello there, this is Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV. It's time for the news review segment. We have a number of stories to deal with this morning. We promise to do our best and, of course, attack all of them with the various perspectives that we're looking for. The president has been quite busy in the past week, launching one initiative or project after the other. He's going ahead to launch the no fees stress policy, which is an intervention for first-year tertiary students. We're going to be looking at that story as well as some politics regarding Ablekuma North rerun, and then, of course, other stories making the headlines this morning. But we just like to announce for you to know that the Minority Caucus in Parliament and the NPP have announced that this morning they'll be protesting at the offices of Iyoko over what they described as a prolonged unlawful detention of the CEO, the former CEO rather, of the Buffer Stock Company. In studio with me this morning is the editor of the News Center newspaper, newscenter.com, Elvis Adakon. Good morning, Elvis.
Good morning.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
John Mahama is fulfilling his promises, campaign promises mostly. One which had to do with education and, of course, the promise of no fees stress policy for tertiary students, first-year tertiary students. Last week, we saw a viral video of some students who say they had received a refund of fees they had paid and were jubilating. I don't know what you think of this, its impact on government's budget and expenditure, and how sustainable this policy is.
Oh, for me, I always support policies of that nature because I believe that a country's progress depends largely on the quality of human resource that it has. And therefore, if the state is investing in the education of its resource, for me, I always support it. So me, I'm not the person I'm not part of those who are against paying of fees for students, whether as allowed to nurses or teachers, or if at the university level. With the level of natural resources God has given us freely, if I look at nations around us and even around the world, if we have managed our country properly, by now education at the university level should be completely free for every Ghanaian. We should have a free education at the university level for every Ghanaian by now if I had managed our resources well. Because there are countries that are not even well endowed like us. But then they have been able to give free education even to the university level for their citizens.
Right.
And that is why we should even be ashamed that at this time we are only able to pay for only the first year fees of students. And that worries me because if after first year the student is unable to pay, what happens? The student drops out. Maybe that's a very brilliant chap that would have become somebody else tomorrow.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, drops out because maybe financial issues. And there are many brilliant people in this country, including those we see on the street. We call them selling doctrine, ice water, and the rest. If you happen to interact with some of these people, you realize that they have some of the brilliant brains. They have been to secondary school, have some very fine grades. But because their parents cannot finance their tertiary education, they have to look for other options. And they were not lucky to get anybody to support them. And therefore, they have to resort to menial jobs. Who knows? Maybe these brains, if they had been supported to go to a higher level, they may be some of the people that may come up with some of the mind-blowing changes that would turn this country into something that we all wish it should be.
Right.
That's why, for me, if we are investing in education of the Ghanaian, I support it 100%. I wish we can address all the quality issues at the basic level, make free SHS stronger than it is, and make tertiary education free for all, and not free for only those even in public schools, but free for every Ghanaian that is schooling in Ghana. Whether in private or in public school, education must be free. This policy, once again, has left out those that are in private tertiary institutions, just as we did for free SHS.
Right.
And it is this government that is saying that they are trying to enroll in
private schools
into
the free SHS.
So I'm surprised that their tertiary level program did not from the onset include private investors. The people who are the private investors or any private education institution in Ghana are Ghanaians, just like those who are in public schools. So why are we using taxpayers' money to finance those who are in public schools? And then we said if you are in a private school, it means that you don't deserve it. Many people in private school do not wish to be there. It's because there are no vacancies at the public schools to take them on.
It's not necessarily because they can afford
no,
private education.
There are many people that are going to private secondary schools, even from basic to secondary. If you talk to them, it's not because they have money, but it's because they want good quality education for their children. But at the basic level, they see that a lot of public schools, the performance is not up to scratch. So they will spend their last penny, some even borrow. If you go to tertiary institutions and look at students who are going there, you talk to many of them, the pain their parents are going through or they themselves are going through to be able to go through will blow your mind, simply because they applied to public tertiary institutions and they were not given admission. And they also did not want to sit home, so they do everything possible to make sure that they find the money to pay those higher fees at the public schools in order to be able to have secondary education. So if a policy like that is coming, even if government will not be able to pay the full cost for the private, at least the amount you are paying for those in public schools, pay similar amount to those also in private, so that they will top it up and also have similar benefits. So see, there is some unfairness in this kind of system because the taxpayers' money belongs to all of us. So we cannot always say that because these ones are public, it means that is where government money will go. And that those who are running private, the people who go there should pay. The question is everyone in private school there because they have money? The answer is no. Many people wish to go to Legon, KNUST, Accra. Many people have applied. And we all know every year when the admissions come, you hear this number of students applied. They all qualified. But this is the number that the school has been able to admit. The rest, no admission, not because they are not qualified, but because of lack of space. So if the government does not have enough of space in public investors, and for that reason I'm unable to go there, and I decide to go to private school, and there's a government bursary for tertiary students at the first year level, why is that the same amount will not be paid for me who is also in private school? And then I will top it up. But I will be denying completely the opportunity to benefit at all, just as we did for free SHS. And I think that these are the disparities that I see in some of these policies that we must correct as a nation, because see, everybody in that school, when we say a Ghanaian, it doesn't matter whether you're in public or private school. We say the policy should affect Ghanaians. So I don't believe in the situation where we only use government money to do things for the schools when they are only public. I think that every Ghanaian deserves it. So if it is for students that are going to first year, it doesn't matter whether they're in public or private schools, extend the same amount. And then if the private school fees is more than what the government is offering, then the student top this up. Then the student also knows that, oh, then I am also benefiting from the policy. Same way free SHS. If private school have been included and the government says, this is how much I pay per every student for the bursary. And therefore, if you the private school, yours is more than what I pay. I'm giving you what I pay. And then those in the private school can top it up and go. Then there's equity. Then there's equity in the policy. But the policies we have done so far, all of them have left out a lot of Ghanaians simply because they could not gain admission to the public schools for that reason, which is not their fault. It's not their fault that they didn't gain admission. As I said, there are so many people in private secondary schools, private tertiary schools. If you talk to them, they wish they are in a public system, but there are no vacancies. So then they have to seek to private. But then why is that the policy should discriminate against them? And so for me, I'm not somebody who is against that. Why should government? I support that we use government. And as I said, if you have managed our country very well, looking at all that God has given us for free, by now, tertiary education in Ghana should have been free for everybody.
Thank you, Office. Let's say good morning to Ibrahim Ajay, former Assistant Secretary, Office of the former President. Good to have you.
Likewise,
I hope your weekend was good.
By God's grace, alhamdulillah.
Right. Office agrees with the no fees stress policy, but wants equity in a system where whatever quota is given per student in a public university, college of education, nursing training, same is replicated in the private universities. Let me hear what your initial thoughts are on this particular policy.
Well, firstly, the policy is good. In order for Ghana to grow, I think every single government, every kind of leader, whether at the national level or even within a company, will tell you that when you add value to your human resource base, i.e. education, you'll see the benefits of it. Every country which we use as a barometer, the Singapores, the Malaysians, even Ghana, if you recall, during Kwame Nkrumah's time, he made it a policy that the North had to catch up with the South in terms of Ghana by making sure that there was free education in the North, well before it became nationwide under the MPP government and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Why am I putting this as a preface to your question? Education has to be the leveler, and it is also the springboard for countries and individuals to actually achieve their full potential. So the policy is excellent. I like it because it's going to allow those students who haven't gained admission. You find that maybe the first year, because of fees, academic fees, this is what the government is paying for, they drop out. If they don't drop out, that worry, you know, in terms of parents and families having to pull together semester after semester, year after year, to at least give you that funding. There's a psychological pressure on that student. Now that can be lifted, hence the no stress fee policy. So a perfect policy. The idea is that it can be scaled up, subject to resources. We have a student loan scheme that is in place to at least alleviate the financial burden, so that not having money should not prevent you from accessing money, which you then pay at a later stage, and that's been done for some time under the MPP government. So it's good. I like what's happening right now in the space. It's going to add to our human resource, not only potential, but our growth. An educated nation is what will distinguish you becoming prosperous or poor. And at the tertiary level, we started it, of course, at the senior high level. Now at the tertiary level, these are the nascent examples that I think will help Ghana chart a progressive way forward as we build the nation, and you build it with people. In terms of Elvis's proposal that you should capture in the private sector, I vehemently disagree.
Why?
Private are for profit. Do they share revenue? That's number one. The private schools and tertiary institutions, when they make their money, I'm not talking revenue, but profit, they get taxed.
But the target here is for the students.
I understand, but I'm coming. I want to make my point here. You have an opportunity to apply to the public sector. I also mentioned some valid reasons that maybe it's not just about money,
vacancy.
But vacancies is one, and then also maybe the quality. But it's a quality that led you to go there. I would like to say that up until now, the quality of education in Ghana is improving, unless somebody can tell me otherwise. And how can I explain this statement? Look at 2009 to 2016, the WASI results. Now, anybody can come on this platform and say, oh, my party is the best, my government is the best regarding education. Do you know how we can distinguish which administration or government delivers the best?
The WASI results.
The WASI results. That is the barometer. And 2009 to 2016, look at the core results. I'm talking maths, English, social studies, and science. In English, you were getting something like 32%.
No, that's maths.
It's maths. Thank you, you have it. And then it went up to around what? Was it 53? English went up to 73%. I'm talking from 2017 to 2024. So I'm just giving you some timelines. So it's all about making sure that if indeed education is improving, i.e. the outcome, what they then is making some parents still choose the private. Because you can see the trajectory. If indeed quality is an issue, and it has been for some time, and for that reason you want the best for your child, so let me go private, and you pay for it. Okay? There's nothing stopping anybody in the private sector applying to the public sector. And you've seen that a lot within the free SHS when it was opened up, Nana. That parents saw the advantage and said, let me, in fact, enroll my child or my ward into the public sector. And you saw the results. I think 1.3, 1.5 million difference of the expansion leading to the double track that we had in Ghana. So I vehemently, and I say that, yes, we are here for all Ghanaians. All Ghanaians, yes? I mean, it's up to us to somehow, how can I call it, distinguish between the public sector and the private sector and whether government should fund private sector areas. I don't want to compare apples with oranges. But it's like you taking an Uber and your brother taking a trotro. You are at liberty to take the Uber. Am I right? You can also take the trotro as well.
Yeah.
You can't say to me that because there's no space in the trotro, that made you take the Uber constantly. What should government do? Should government also say, when we are reducing, let's say for argument, government doesn't have the space to reduce trotro fees, but it does through GPRTU. Can government then force Uber drivers and the Yango drivers and the Bolt drivers to reduce their fares? Okay, I just want to expand the argument of the danger of when government now wants to either subsidize or fund a private area. Now somebody say, but Ibrahim, this is education. It's education, but that's how the world is. We have to understand that there are limits to government, because when you expand it too much, it becomes unsustainable. It becomes, and the last thing you want to do.
But you see, my challenge here is that the policy intervention is to ease the burden on students, not for the private universities to make profits. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I'm listening.
Yes, it's the target here is the student, not the institution. You get it? So I mean, the analogy you're making, and the example with the trotro and the Uber, I'm finding a bit of a difficulty.
You shouldn't find it difficult, because what I'm saying is this: you want government to fund a private area. Am I right?
To fund a Ghanaian attending a private university.
Okay, why are they attending the private university? Are they paying fees?
They are.
They're paying fees. Okay, but those fees that they pay, who benefits from those fees?
The private organization.
So when government pays for those private students, who gets the money?
Of course, the organization, which is private.
Okay. So how is it what I was saying is difficult for you to understand?
But the intervention here is that we are paying fees for students to reduce the burden on them.
There's nothing, and I'm all for that. I am all for, but this is the reality in which we live.
Because these students may not have had vacancy in the public institution, not necessarily.
It's not because it's their preference.
Because it's a preference.
I'm coming. Let's understand that some people, it is their preference. Let us not be naive, Nana and Elvis, to think that it's because there's no vacancy. That's why I went to private schools. No, let's be fair.
There are those who prefer.
Good.
But year in, year out, we see the numbers that complete school, how many qualify for public tertiary education, but are unable to have due to lack of access.
Sure. And for that reason, they are made to go. But where do you, then you have to do a means test to understand that, okay, I applied to a public institution. I got the grades.
Yeah.
Okay? But the place is full.
Right.
So I was forced to go to private. Am I right? So therefore now government should, once it's extending it to the public, extend it to me as well, because it's a student. But that is the reality, and that's what I'm talking about, the sustainability. You know, isn't it good if we could give free housing to everybody? Everybody. Inshallah, one day we'll get there. Yeah, but it has to be sustainable.
Right.
Once it's not sustainable, and these are the hard decisions, you know, important leaders make impossible decisions. And unless we manage certain interventions in a methodical and realistic way, it will become a pie in the sky. It sounds good. You start it, then it falls. And then you wonder, why did this policy not succeed? The reality is that not everybody can get it. So what you're saying is, okay, government, how much will it cost, okay, to accommodate the, for argument's sake, 1 million tertiary students, let's just put a figure on it, who applied but couldn't get in. Okay? So let's say on average, let's say maybe a university can hold 100,000 students. So 100,000 times 10 is 1 million, isn't it? So you need 10 universities to create that space to allow for students to come in, isn't it? Good. That's where the focus should be. Instead of funding the private sector, see how best you can expand the public space. Use the money to expand the public space so that those who then apply to public institutions, government can use this money to fund the public. Because when we pay the private sector, they're going to expand their institutions, and we wish them 100% well. 100% well. Because in the private sector, results are delivered.
Right.
Let's not be shy about that fact, okay? Results are delivered. And oftentimes you can see a clear dichotomy or distance between somebody who's gone through the public school and the private school. In terms of the learning, you know, it's the pedagogical measures or implements are totally different.
The outcomes are different.
The outcomes are different, but we're catching up in the public space.
Right.
So that's my point there.
Right.
Government then has to focus on expanding the infrastructure of the public tertiary institutions to accommodate them. Because you're down on a slippery slope. We want every student to succeed.
Right.
Do you understand me?
Right.
And I think we have to be real to making sure it's sustainable.
You see, Ibrahim's point that he's making is why government is suffering. Government does not need to expand those schools. Government itself is struggling to pay and cater for those schools. If the private are going to invest to put all the infrastructure, and you put a policy and you say, the same amount I'm paying for a Legon student is the same amount I'll pay for if you go to accession. I'm not saying accession fees is 10 or 15 times Legon, so I'm paying the full fees for you.
No.
It's the best relief government can make. Look, 1999, 1990, Legon rejects 8,500 qualified students. 1999. This is 2009. Legon rejects 8,000 qualified students. 2013, Legon rejects 39,000 qualified students. 39,000. So when you look at the figures, and this number far exceed, so they are always able to take between 30 and 40% of applicants. Qualified applicants, not that they are not qualified.
Right.
You can't tell me that Legon can be expanded to accommodate all these people. The cost of even putting that infrastructure in place, hiring additional lecturers, providing it will be way above government. It will be way above government. And I'm surprised Ibrahim, we come from a family that believes in private sector, is talking this way. I think that education is one of
I believe in public sector. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm saying I'm not expected to make the argument because education is one of the sectors that is actually consuming government money hugely.
Yeah.
So if private sector can do the rightful investment, put in the infrastructure, do everything, and will be able to run successfully and actually accredited by the right state institutions. Policies like this should rather be benefiting those institutions so that the burden on government that build more infrastructure, build more hostels
in the public institutions,
hire more lecturers, hire more administrators, hire all this. The government will cut those expenditures.
Right.
We should be moving to situations where the focus should be in those places. So if 39,000 have been retired by Legon and they decide to look for admission in private schools, why should they be denied the same benefit that a Ghanaian student in Legon is being given? So I think that we should look at how private sector is helping government actually to become more efficient, helping government to reduce costs, helping government to focus on its core business. Education is so expensive everywhere in the world. So if we can rather make policies that encourage private sector to actually be largely responsible for the larger chunk of education in Ghana through their own investments, and then with government policies like this, it covers everybody. I can tell that government can reduce its education budget largely. Because if you say you want to provide accommodation to, like I give you 2015, 39,000 students, additional 39,000 students, which is more than the one Legon has. Do you know what they're talking about?
Huge burden.
The burden on
and
government.
This is just Legon only.
That's a Legon only in 2015. So you understand that the issue that is at stake is not about government expanding those facilities. It's not that government seeing the private sector as what? Stakeholders in development. And that if people have their money, they will invest, build their facilities, everything. That fee he give Uber and Trotro. Nobody says that. I never made the argument here. I'm saying that the same amount that you are paying for the person in Legon, pay the same amount the same. If the person has to top up at private, that is the person's business. So if it's government policy, you take Trotro and you go and take Uber. Yes, the government pay the Trotro fee. The additional fee you pay. So it's not about going to pay all the fee for private. No, it's not the case.
Very well. Ibrahim, I'll give you a bite. Let me just say good morning to Comrade Elikem Kotoko, Deputy CEO, Forestry Commission. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you. It's been a while.
It's really been a while.
How all is well?
We can't complain.
Good to have
life, and so we have hope.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes.
Ibrahim, wrap up on this, and then we'll hear from Elikem.
I'm talking about sustainability. It has not been captured. That government is saying, or the proposal that Elvis is saying is that you charge X amount at the private, so we will give you Y amount. And let the students who are there top up. That's not on the table here. I understand Elvis's point, but in leadership you have to be realistic. Otherwise your idea will become a pipe dream. And when it falls down, you the leader get blamed. Because what are you looking at? You're looking at the total quantum, and I don't have the figures with me, but let's find out the number of students in tertiary institutions right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe if you go to Gemini and you Google, we'll find out. Can government realistically sustain that? We are building layer upon layer. And it's not a case of whether or not we are disenfranchising any student. You've given the figures. 39,000 were rejected. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, as I say, you can scale it up across board. Why isn't JHS free? We should ask that question now. SHS is free. There's no JHS free. You pay for JHS. So why not at the key areas?
The basic level.
The basic levels. Why are we not channeling our efforts there? You want the tree to get the fruit. Meanwhile, you won't even water the sapling. That will produce the tree, that will produce the fruit. So when we look at that top heavy down thing, I have issues with it. And I have issues not because I'm vehemently for education. High quality education. But you have to understand the reality in which we live. That's why I just gave the Uber and the Trotro, not to somehow, Nana, water down what Elvis is saying. It's a fantastic thing. That's why I said, can we do housing for everybody? The idea is no. But then you can say, okay, why can't the private sector, let's use the same analogy, real estate can build quicker than government, and they do. Right now we have something like 3 million people, if you look at some statistics, who don't have
the housing
deficit. Meanwhile, I'm sure we have over 4 million units of accommodation free right now within the country. People have apartments that are not being rented out.
Yeah.
So the private sector is already working with government in the housing sector, either producing the infrastructure that government can't do on its own. Why don't we also have that policy? If you're not unemployed, if you're homeless, government will work with private sector real estate, and we will house everybody. Is that not a fantastic policy?
It is.
But is it sustainable? Thank you. So when I'm coming from that point that I'm vehemently against it, it's about sustainability. Leadership is about choices and good choices. If you don't do that, you will suffer and regret it, and the people that you went to help will rather castigate you. So where government has started is good.
Right.
They're looking at the public sector. Can they expand it to the private sector? It's about resources.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But why should a policy that is meant for all Ghanaians be my point, why should it be restricted to a public institution?
And not cut across.
The policy is not for the school.
And
the policy is for Ghanaian students. Going to tertiary level. So if it is for the student going to tertiary level, why didn't we look at the figures and find out whether it is sustainable? Why? See, I'm saying that the child who is in the private school who you are denying, the parents are also paying the same tax that the parents whose child is going enjoying. Okay, to enjoy.
I want Elvis to
right. Let me hear from Elvis. Let me hear from Elvis.
That discrimination is what we must deal with. Because if the poor person's son is at KNUST and is struggling to pay fees, by his pays his taxes every month. But you say because the child did not gain admission to a KNUST or Legon, but find himself in maybe Central University or Adventist University or somewhere, he is not entitled to it simply because of they did not get admission to Legon or KNUST.
Which you think is not fair?
Which is totally unfair in terms of
Very well,
free
very well,
SHS
very well, very well.
And we
Let's bring Ablekuma.
and we should not continue this unfairness.
Thank you.
It's important for our viewers to understand
30
something.
seconds,
Even 15 people. It's important for our viewers to understand this.
Right.
He said that he said that education is for everybody. Am I right?
Yeah.
I gave the example of Uber and Truffle just to capture it. Listen, transportation is for everybody. The government wants everyone to go to work, go to school.
Yeah.
Because you don't take Truffle or Uber for fun. You take it to get from A to B.
Right.
To be productive in that journey. So if education for everybody, transportation is for everybody.
Right.
So if I can't get on the truck, pay my Uber.
That argument is wrong.
That's not what I said. Hold on. We're leaving Ablekuma out.
It's wrong because you can't compare Uber and
truck
to university education.
And
you are telling me that if I get admission in today, I should be waiting the next 10 years that they're going to give me a job. Because I cannot afford, I cannot go.
Your point is well.
That argument is made.
So we're discussing the no fee stress policy, right? And the argument here is about equity, spreading it across to. If it's an intervention for all Ghanaian students, then students in the private sector or private university would also benefit. Ibrahim raised an issue or set an example with the Uber trotro thing. Elvis' argument is that pay what you are paying for the trotro ride. To me, if I want to ride an Uber, I'll top up. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much, and good morning once again. Some way, somehow, I'm surprised at his argument. My reason being that a classical example I was going to give was what Ibrahim was just saying.
The Uber
But yes, but in fact, let me rather give another. If government intends to do a housing program and decides that government it's putting up a housing facility at Denta, at Majo, and maybe Takrady. And if government is unable to put maybe at Tamale, because it's a process, and you say that because it's a program that is aimed at all Ghanaians benefiting, then the private home as Tamale must also be invaded by the private person because government must find an avenue to subsidize for that. It doesn't work like that. And this is policy we are talking about. It's something that is rolled out over time, improved after a while, amongst other things. And so if government, and show me any country in the world where private education is actually cheaper compared to the public sector. And so if government is rolling out a policy and you feel that you want to benefit, what it means is that the number one thing is to look at the avenue, the vehicle that you would also move on to reach that. And government is doing this through public schools.
And in this case, there's no vacancy in the public school.
Yes, and it will also always be.
But I can't wait till after 10 years if I don't get admission, I'm still waiting.
Not really the case, but you see, every policy aims at improving the status quo. The question should be that as this is being introduced, what is the situation? It is also improving the status quo of many others who hitherto wouldn't have accessed at all or would have been found in some major channel. No, at your expense. How?
Because I did not get admission into the public university, so I went for private education.
Well, you see, there is no very perfect situation, unless we want to even pretend around this matter of concern. That when we roll out policies, like we did with free SHS, it even took people from within the government of the NPP at the time to even criticize the free SHS themselves. That they feel that somebody at Achimota should not be benefiting from free SHS because you can afford going to those schools. And that is just the same example we're looking at over here. And so when government is rolling out a program, it knows very well that the aim is for the majority of the people. If, however, we can study it and tell that, look, from the very onset, 150 have applied, 35,000 have applied, 35,000 or 50,000 qualify. Access, however, is only available to 15,000. That is progress. What it means is that then if we want to roll this out continuously, next year, as part of the schools programs, government must make sure expansion is also part of that. So get fund, come in, and let's see what you can also do. Because there's some kind of burden being removed off the scholarship secretariat and the other
those who argue for the student loan scheme to be upgraded to cover some of these things and not necessarily a no fees.
Well, every policy will always have divergent views, but when government also decides the avenue it seeks to pursue, don't forget, just as you and I are talking, we are talking here now, it was not only the no fee stress that was launched, there was also the component that talks about access to the people with disabilities.
Yes.
That is another avenue also. So there are other avenues contained, and even special scholarships for people from very
underserved
communities.
Yeah.
So you see, even the headline, even though this is what it looks like, it's just an umbrella headline giving you other footings where it can. And even ourselves, it's not as though we are biased, but we feel that the no fee stress is more catchy, and that is what we are even rather discussing more, and not even the people with disability and other things. So we are in one way or the other making an effort to make sure, like he said, why is it that even junior high school should not even rather be made, also be made free?
Yeah.
We should be looking at all of these things so that eventually, I believe that if I am good today, if I speak good English, if I'm quality, I owe it all to my basic school. I'm so sorry. I can never say that it is my secondary school or my tertiary school. I owe it to Wisdom International School in Abuzume. And I have always said this anytime, anywhere, that is where the formative time is where you grab things very well. And the rest, they are just building on the foundation that has been laid. And so this is very critical. So I believe that, in as much as I believe we all, I'm sure, agree that this is a commendable approach to supporting education, teaching problems will also come. There has not been any yet, but the concern has, however, only been that the net seems to be cast, but not so wide enough because there are some private. Don't forget that the private person who is also setting up an educational institution is there purely for profit. No matter what. Even though he's rendering a service, he's there for profit. And so when you look at those angles to that side of that person, he is doing business.
But the intervention here is for the students, although the ultimate beneficiary will be the private person that set up the institution.
That is why you would agree with me further, that even the person who decides to go to the private school primarily already knows that it's a choice I have made to pay higher school fees. Because all private schools charge higher than public schools. So from the very get-go, when you are even applying for a private school, you know you are going to be paying more. What preparations have you made? It is not to chastise anybody for making that choice. There could be unforeseen or uncontrollable circumstances that may have pushed somebody into this. Someone may think that the number of people going to public schools are too much. I can easily access a private school. I have an uncle who can also support if I go to private school. So the conditions are varying. And so I think that in as much as one would have said, we agree with what my brother is saying, it will be a bit also over the bar to say that should be the rule for the entire game. We are making some progress which we need to improve on and then see the best way forward.
Bro, 1 minute and then we'll move on from this.
Their statements create the impression that people go to private school because it's preference. It's a preference and it's because they can afford. I can tell you that do any research today, more than 70% of people in tertiary institutions who are at the private school do not intend to go there. It's because they were rejected by public institutions because of lack of space. So let's not create the impression to look at it when people choose people who are in private tertiary institutions, it's because that is their preference. No. Almost
the majority of them
they want to be in public investment, but there are no spaces.
Right.
So if the person did not get admission in public school because there's no space, why is that his fault, for which reason he should be punished for not getting the same benefit? While the parents are paying the same tax you and I are paying, why are we differentiating and discriminating against people because they are in private school when they wish to be in public school? And I gave you the 2015, 39,000 students want to go to Legon were rejected. They had no option. They want to continue education, so they go to private school. Look, we have to look at this carefully because we are talking about public school. Public school can't do anything. If you look at the records, currently our gross tertiary enrollment in Ghana is 22%. It means that over 80-something% of people who should be in the tertiary level are not even there. And if when I tell you that the numbers that are rejected every year, more than 60% of people who want to go to school apply to public tertiary to get rejected because of lack of space. So we have something that people must understand. People don't go to private tertiary schools because they think that it is better than public. It's because the opportunity is not there. They apply and have been rejected. For which reason they have no option than to go to private. Not because they can afford. People are struggling to pay their fees at tertiary levels in private schools. So let's not create the impression that it's because people can afford, that's what they go there.
Just a quick one. You see, the reason Elvis is giving is just one of many reasons why people even go to secondary school or private tertiary schools. Because there are many who also feel that based on quality, per their own assumptions or impressions, and many others. And that is why I gave the example that if government intends to roll out a housing program, the housing program will definitely not cover all Ghanaians at a go.
Once.
Even if you go to the most developed country today, even let's say the Prime Minister of India visited Ghana. If we're talking of the biggest democracy, that is it. Does it make their democracy the best in the world?
No.
They are still practicing democracy. And so they're still known as the biggest democracy. So when we're criticizing at the very foundation stage to say that the basic thing we should be calling for is that, look, we must have more public institutions. We must encourage that. Every region should be having about 3, 4, or 5 public institutions. That is one of the ways we can expand. Take a critical example. I don't know if it would be good to mention schools, though, but let's say Legon. Years back, Legon didn't used to do distance education, and it was rather the other sister institutions. It looked as though after they had captured that market, then Legon suddenly woke up to the smell of the coffee and decided to also do so. Maybe by which time the others have captured a lot, but they would have to move along and then begin to also carve their niche and capture the market. And so this is something, if you are, if you are seen to be thinking that because it's not being extended to the private sector, there's a bias among other things. Yes, you could classify that as a bias, but it does not rule out the fact that the program seeks to achieve a result that will be measured over time. And we, look, even if we extend it to the tertiary institution, another panelist will come tomorrow and say that, look, do you know the number of people who are denied access to tertiary education every year? It is even more than the number of people in the institutions, the private institutions. Then the challenge now shall be that let us focus on making sure that we expand more. And I would always say expansion has always been the concern for many. Hostel accommodation, amongst other things.
You see the point is raised. Gross tertiary enrollment is 22%. You want government to find more money, expand. When the private sector can do the expansion on behalf of the state, and that you extend such policies to them, it becomes an encouragement to say government is footing part of fees. So if I build infrastructure in terms of students coming, I may have some students coming because fees for entry will not be a problem. That's why I said that if you are managing a country very well, we should have free education. I'm telling you that when you are talking about government expanding, let's take free SHS when we brought it on board. Infrastructure, we have to actually go and get $1.5 billion loan to try and fix the infrastructure issue. Even that one, as of today, we still have not been able to do. And you are saying government which is broke is what we should focus on to do expansion. I'm saying that government has a fine opportunity to incentivize private sector to say that such government policies, whether at secondary school or tertiary level, will apply to you which are private. It becomes an incentive for private people to say, let's put up quality educational institutions so that we help Ghana bring the gross tertiary enrollment.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts on this.
Just the last one. You see, that is the reason why President John Maham's government has decided that we must even extend free SHS to private entity. Why is it so? That is why I tell you, when you enroll a program, you may identify the teaching problems and see how to resolve them. Over a period of 8 years, free SHS has been introduced. It still continued with some of its challenges. But there's a need for us to expand. After a long period where we see that there's a need for that. So now it's been extended to technical and private institutions. It is the same way when you start with the public schools and eventually as you grow, it may be the next 4 years, the next 8 years, or even the next decade, whichever regime comes to power again may say, I need to also expand this further because it's a laudable idea. Then you now see the need to do so. But you admitting that government is challenged and constrained by itself should admit again further that government must start from somewhere. And starting from somewhere, you will look at the hanging fruits. You don't want to let government be more choked by attempting to solve a problem.
Very well. Let's move on.
Sure, but let me add this. It's about sustainability. Ghana Tertiary Education, is it Commission? GTEC.
Yes.
Yeah, Commission says that 2022-2023 across public and private institutions, 711,695 students are in the institutions. Say 800,000. What is the average fee? I know course is different because a medical student is different from a history. But if we were to give a figure, is 10,000 a good figure? Per year? Or
per year. Per year.
Per year.
No, it's not 5,000. It's not even 5,000.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say
it's not even up to 5,000.
So let's say 3,000
for public. For public.
Yeah, for public, not for private.
Not for public. It's not even up to
public.
5,000.
Around somewhere 3,000.
So let's say 3,000. Okay, you got 800,000 students times 3,000. Is that 2.4 billion? 8 times 3?
Yeah.
24.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's actually even a little bit more than that. At the crux of what we're doing is how sustainable it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it's not often time we agree, but I agree with Elika, and I think the viewers can see.
Right.
We're not against
The
Ghanaian
policy.
students, not against the policy. No, I'm talking about the policy of roping in the private sector. Education is key. Okay, I have 3 children. So why won't I give the best education to them? Likewise, all of us. Even if you don't have kids right now, you want your nephews and nieces to have the best.
Right.
I'm 100% for it. I'm a student. Today people say, Ibrahim, you're smart, though, inshallah. It's because of education. My parents made sure that we had to learn. Again, of course, in London, when we came home from school, my mom and dad, homework. We started playing, when I say with my brother, from 8 p.m. onwards. By 9 we're sleeping. We had a regime. You know how we are as Africans. You have to do better than your European peers. And we were beating them. Because of the focus that our parents gave us.
Right.
I'm 100% for education. So I'm not here to say, because they're private, they're on their own. But that's the reality.
Right.
But we knew this would get in 2020.
But I'm coming. That's why I made the point. I know we're going to a different topic. Right. I know we've beaten this, we've flagged this horse. That's why I made the point, and I think Elika was agreeing with me on that point. And Elvis too. Why not channel our energies, the money, into JHS? If we have money to expand to the private sector, why are we somehow discriminating against the basic areas? As I said, before you pick the fruit, let the tree grow or the sapling grow. It's a topsy-turvy because that child at the JHS level, even if, God forbid, they don't access tertiary education, they will have the skills.
Exactly.
But right now, a lot of them have been disenfranchised. Yes.
Not
That's my point.
JHS. It's supposed to be at kindergarten.
That's the FP.
And I remember President Kufuor time, there was a policy to make sure that every public school has a kindergarten. But after President Kufuor left office, I have not seen the continuation of that policy. Because education starts from the kindergarten level. The formative years is kindergarten. But that policy that President Kufuor introduced at that time, it started. Some schools got 3 classroom block, kindergarten, KG1 before you go to class 1. But then after President Kufuor, nobody even called. So the truth of the matter, we all agree is that we need to pay serious attention to basic education. Because it's like we have neglected basic education for so many years. And then we are focusing on secondary and tertiary. Meanwhile, the foundation is the basic.
It's the basic.
So we need to
well.
look at it.
Granted. Let's move on to Ablekuma North. The EC has announced the decision to rerun the elections in some 19 polling stations in the constituency. The MPP won't have none of that. This morning we're being told an injunction has been filed to block the process. Hopefully it goes through. The EC is stopped. Ibrahim, let me start from you.
Sure.
Really, what are your concerns regarding the Ablekuma North constituency and the suggestion or the decision to have a rerun?
We've been on this platform since it started. I'm from December, January, and we've spoken about it severally. And those who can quickly go, I know that when we finish this program, you post us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You will see my comments there. I've said I'm okay for a rerun. We were talking about 3 polling stations. So if today I'm querying the EC's decision, that's where I'm coming from. You say, oh, but Ibrahim, you say you're okay for a rerun. Go back to what I was saying. We were talking about 3 polling stations, and they consistently said 3 polling stations. If it's now being expanded to 19, at least let all parties understand the rationale why.
Was MPP not at the meeting where this decision was taken?
That I'm not aware. That I'm not aware. I've yet to get any intel that we were part of that.
Because this will be taken at an IPAC level.
Sure.
And it will involve both parties.
And these are maybe the reasons why within the injunction we can find out. But again, the EC is autonomous. It has every right to make its decisions. And I don't want to somehow muddy the waters there. If we say it's autonomous, allow it to work. But what it does, it works on a sense of inclusivity. You know, whenever we had IPAC for some time, NDC didn't want to even attend.
Right.
General Mosquito said no, it's biased. That is their prerogative and their right. So you can't then say, I didn't attend, so how did you reach this decision? I'm talking NDC area. So if indeed we were invited, and I don't believe we were, because otherwise I would have heard about it, but the reality will make itself known to all of us. That notwithstanding, whether we were invited or not, let us understand, because from January, Bosman has been telling us that it's three polling stations. And we've discussed on this panel 3 polling stations. Why? Because they were verified, you had ballot papers being stolen, burnt, we saw them. And you used to play it on the montage as we were talking. You saw visually how they were, the whole constituency or the election was, had its issues, had its challenges. So we understand that. So that's the basis of my submission here, Nana. How do we get from 3 to 19? At least inform us, because when you inform us, the actors, both NPP and NDC, can determine how true or not. And of course, then you have the returning officers who were there at those 19 polling stations. Now, it said that the polling stations that were affected, I think the figures were scanned but not verified. So that was the reason. We understand that. When we were talking about 3, just let us know, EC, where did the additional 16 polling stations come from? Is it the case that during this period you found out more inconsistencies, because now you have the luxury of time to maybe hear other petitions. So in this polling station, this went on. There was overvoting in this particular one. Things that were not captured in December have now come up. If that's the case, explain. Because why is it that we're now only hearing, if indeed that's the case, I'm just giving you my idea. That you can't just balloon the figure. I have no issue with the rerun. Let me categorically state that. Okay? If you recall the 2012 petition, we said we wanted a rerun. If indeed, because remember we had those Finger of God polling station. Remember that? Finger of God polling station. It doesn't even exist. I mean, I can go on, but that's not the topic of this. I'm just giving an example whereby there are valid reasons to do a rerun.
I think the AC has put some explanation to the 19th. I think they mentioned 38 or so polling stations that were in contention. Their presiding officers have been able to verify some 18, leaving the 19 outstanding.
I don't have an issue there, but we have been, it's like 7 months now. Where was this narrative? If you didn't have it in December, maybe January or February, March, April. We discussed this in May, June. Let's leave July out for now. Why have these issues not come out? Because, why do I say so? Both on the NPP and NDC side, certainly those issues would have come out, even within our WhatsApp chat groups. Okay? I remember when we had Savelugu. 7 ballot boxes were burnt by NDC. I'm talking 2016. Where Honorable Samet Gunu is. Alhamdulillah, Aja Fataya is now our MP for Savelugu. But 2016 elections, 7 ballot boxes were burnt by the NDC. Why burn something that is of value to you? We went to court and then they matter less, and NDC were allowed to maintain the seat. And Alhamdulillah, we've won the seat now in the 2024. But I'm just saying, when somebody burns something, that means it's not in their interest. You get me? So, when we were all knowing about burnt ballot boxes and ballot boxes being snatched, this narrative of this 38 you're telling us about has not even come up, even in our WhatsApp groups. Because if I'm in Ablekuma North and I'm close to the issue, I will comment on it. Actually, in my polling station, this is what happened. You remember when Adwa Safo blew the whistle, 2012. That, hey, they've taken 10,000 from my result and added 10,000 to theirs. And everybody woke up. And suddenly all those inconsistencies came up and we went to the 2012 petition. I'm saying there's an organic conversation that takes place regardless of the EC's own tabulation. That organic conversation has not taken place within NPP circles and dare say maybe NDC circles. Because it doesn't mean that those 19 are for NDC or those 19 are for NPP. Because NDC can also have issues. Actually, this is our stronghold. I'm talking that polling station. Why are you saying we should rerun? NDC can validly say that, and vice versa. NPP can say, why these 19 or these additional 16? We win here all the time. Nothing happened on December 7th. Yeah, you EC say...
So you should be comfortable going into a rerun.
No, and I've said that already. I've said that already. I'm not backtracking. But I'm saying the EC, you did not take along, you did not carry us along this journey to understand
to arrive at the 19.
Yeah. And the
conversation has always been about 3.
If tomorrow, the EC suddenly said that a particular constituency, who has an MP now, we have found that the ballot papers were whatever, so we are having a rerun. I don't know whether the EC have the power for a sitting MP 7 months into the job to have his constituency rerun. When you've taken 7 months and not told us, EC, maybe there are some expiry dates on petitions. I'm just framing my argument there. I'm in favor of a rerun, which is consistent with what I've said throughout this last 7 months. Check Channel 1 YouTube, Google Ibrahim Ajay, you'll see the results. So I'm not backtracking. But why? Where for the 16? That's mine. Let EC explain. I think it will do all of us good, and inshallah, the court injunction may force them. Not may force. Hopefully, will force them to explain. And it's to the benefit of the NDC as well.
Very well. Thank you, Ibrahim. I'll come to you, Elikem, and then Elvis for your thoughts on this. But let me take a break here. This is Breakfast Daily. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Life can get hectic, and sometimes we forget to prioritize our well-being. That's where Vernal Mineral Water steps in. A refreshing solution packed with essential minerals, Vernal Mineral Water keeps you hydrated and balanced. Whether you're at home or work, Vernal Mineral Water is there to keep you going. Don't let a busy schedule hinder your health. Make Vernal Mineral Water a part of your daily routine. Share the love with Vernal Mineral Water, the choice for a healthy, vibrant you.
This advert is FDA approved.
Looking for a seamless shopping experience? Welcome to Franco, where everything you need is just a click away. Shop the hottest deals and unlock amazing discounts on our products such as mobile phones, refrigerators, washing machines, Franco air conditioners from 1.5 horsepower to 2.5 horsepower, Franco television from 32 inches to 100 inches, CCTV cameras, laptops, and many more. Download our easy-to-use mobile app. Visit our website at www.francotrading.com. Call the numbers on the screen for any assistance and enquiries. Franco, home of quality mobile phones, accessories, and your home appliances.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink at a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Grateful that you stayed on with us. This is Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 TV. We're having the news review segment, and we're having a conversation around Ablekuma North, the decision by the EC to rerun elections in some 19 polling stations. NPP has rejected it. Its candidate has rejected same. NPP is in court seeking an injunction to stop the EC from embarking on this exercise. Ibrahim Ejay has spoken extensively on the matter. Let's hear from Elikem Kotoko regarding this same Ablekuma North.
Yeah, thank you, Nana. I think from the very word go, if you recall, when we were in opposition at the time, we stated emphatically that we had too many square pegs in round holes. We cannot rule out that fact in the EC even today. If we change that position, then we will be very unfair, untruthful, and not objective. Because all these were so avoidable. You recall the deputy commissioner, Mr. Eric Bosman, when some time ago he was even meeting the parliament, he did say that he always ruled out the need for even a rerun. And we kept hammering on this thing. The interesting thing is that some way, somehow, it appears even the NPP is now realizing that truly we had squared pegs in round holes. And these are very avoidable and needless infractions or challenges confronting our electoral system, the first time in our history since 1992. And this is not the first electoral commissioner we are having. But since Jan Mensah took over, it has been one problem after the other. It has been one blatant lie after the other. It has been one form of disrespect of the other. It has been one form of arrogance after the other. And this is where it has landed us. And as if this is not enough, you recall a whole SAL, a whole Sancho Kofi, Akpafu, Likwe, and Lolobi people were denied representation in parliament. A cardinal sin against our constitution, and the very person who superintended over that is still at post. In an Asian country by now, she would have hanged herself. In other places, people would have gone after her.
Right.
Well, maybe she knows, and which is the reason why, if you recall, how do you call the Afarijan and co walked this country freely without any fear.
Yeah.
But she had to constantly be moving with military here and there. What wrong did she do? So you see where we have gotten to. We in the NDC also believe that, look, more than 30 polling stations need to be rerun. But the truth also is that must we hold the people of Ablekuma North to ransom because the EC is very incompetent and may be seen to be perpetuating that incompetence over time? Instead, let us get this done with so that we can have proper representation for Ablekuma North and then get away with it. So even though we felt that it should not be 19, we felt, well, that is appreciable. Let's go do that one so that when all is put together, then we can conveniently say that, okay, the election has been done, Irabna has been declared victorious, as we know. And you see, one major problem that the NPP, if they are listening, must cure, which I have said here before, is that their leadership is their major failure. From their national chairman through their general secretary to everybody. They are always afraid to say this. And it will only take some of us to say it for them. Because their leadership has failed them sorely. And after failing them, they are trying to find some straws to lash on to seek relevance, to seek re-election. If they really want to be seen as a serious party, the very people who are competent enough, even Ibrahim sitting here, not because he's here and I'm trying to get him swollen-headed, should make sure they begin to run for office. So that should tell you, that tells you that we have not changed our positions. It is not a politics. So that should tell you, that tells you that we have not changed our positions. It is not a politics of convenience that the NDC is doing. We feel what is wrong is wrong. What is right must be right. Because even if an MPP person becomes a member of parliament in Ablekuma North, which is a very unlikely situation though, the good people of that place will benefit from him or her at that place.
Right.
Based on government policies. But the truth also remains that your leadership knows that President Mahama is performing wonders. He is rolling out all his policies. Who do you think would want to go and contest, even if it's a by-election now? Do you think you would want to, even if it is your own stronghold? Looking at how the NDC swept the elections across the country. If you take Western region, for instance, which used to be known as a no-go area for the NDC, we have captured every apart from only 2 constituencies. So it tells you that already from the get-go, the NPP is limping. And their leadership have failed them. From the national chairman to the last person over there. They sit on radio and TV and they impugn the integrity or intelligence of the Ghanaian watching them. And when you listen to their commentaries and all that, look, I am not saying this again because I never knew that Ibrahim was such a fine gentleman with regards to how he has maintained his consistency over debates from power and now in opposition. If all of them can learn from him, but the moment some of them begin to speak like this, then they become the enemy of the system.
Yeah.
But it is Ghana that must get better. The last time I was here was with the other member of the member of parliament, the doctor who lost.
Yes. Dr. Kisi.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see, another fine gentleman, and he confirmed himself that that is why they don't like him, or that's why he never got an appointment. You get my point.
Right.
And it was right. Let us get away with this, move on. President Mahama even if it was an MPP MP, President Mahama will still do good for those people anyways. But this is an unlikely event now. And so the question to the people is, look, you see what President Mahama is already doing. Would you want to vote for? So even if it was 3, if it was 4, whatever, the NDC was going to be in a good position. It is why we feel that, look, the election must be run so that we move away from that and focus on the major issues that matter to us. The people of Ablekuma North should not be denied representation whatsoever in subsequent days from the legislature.
Very well. Thank you, Elikem. Elvis, your thoughts on Ablekuma North and the positioning or the posturing of the EC in this matter?
Well, the EC are just giving further reason to those who say that they are incompetent and should be removed. This is just one of the reasons they have given for people to make that call. They've just given those people the platform to justify that call. And they should look at themselves and ask themselves, what have we done to ourselves? Today is 7th, right? Today is exactly 7 months we voted.
Yeah.
Exactly 7 months that we cast our vote in Ghana. December 7th. And you are telling me that one simple constituency, 7 months down the line, we can't declare results. And when people say you are incompetent, people are attacking you, including the NDC people who organize their members to go and bend down the place, are attacking you because of the inconsistency in your decision. You expect someone to jump to your defense. The NDC people who organize the attacks to go and bend the place are now attacking you because you are being inconsistent.
You know this how?
Why? Why? Haven't you reported this thing all over?
That NDC tax bends down.
Of course. You see, look, let's be realistic in this country. You see, the Electoral Commission, if anybody is saying they should be removed, what they have done now, it will be difficult for people to defend that they should not be removed. Okay? 7 months after elections, just a simple constituency. You have delayed, failed to declare results. Then the People's Representatives Parliament called you and said, come and brief the whole country to know what is happening.
But they declared results and told us that the declaration was done under duress, and so they've nullified
Forget about it. All those things. Now you come and sit in Parliament 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Bosman Asare said no rerun. Bosman Asare said there are only 3 police stations. And that when a court order came to them, there's a court order. That's what people have forgotten. There's a court order. Go and count and declare the results. They have failed to do that. They asked me, why did you obey the court order? He said, oh, we have written the police for protection. And the police did not come. They said they have also written to the Attorney General for advice. Nonsense explanation. What has a court order got to do with police writing to Attorney General? A court say do something. Nobody has filed stay of execution. Nobody has filed an appeal. And the police is saying that they have written to AG. Based on what? What's the basis of police writing to AG asking for advice whether they should go and provide security or not? These are the reasons why people will say that somebody is controlling the police or controlling the EC. Is it when you do things that anybody can see through that somebody is controlling you, then people will say you are being controlled. A court of the country orders you that go and do something. You write to police took because they have now made us believe that somebody is controlling. They said the order from the court we are not going to obey. We have written the Attorney General to tell us what to do. It means that police said the Attorney General has more power than the court of Ghana. So what the court has asked them to, they won't do it, and the Attorney General has them to do it. If you do this, people will say that you are being controlled. This state institution must look at this. That when they behave this way, you give room for people to say that you are being controlled, and that's exactly what is happening. And they tell us because the police said they are reading the Attorney General, they are waiting for advising countries. So can you imagine this kind of explanation? And you expect that you, the EC sitting there, somebody should say that if somebody says you should be removed tomorrow, somebody should come and be defending you. We have started this, we've gone to elections upon elections. There are election people who are firing guns. Kwadwo, for example, goes ahead to declare. He said if you are not happy, go to court. I am electoral commission. I've done my election. I've counted the votes. I've declared the results. If you say I'm not something that is not right,
it in court.
Go to the court. Whatever the court orders me to do, I will do. But you have been ordered by a court that go and count and declare results. You have refused. You have disobeyed the court. And if tomorrow somebody says you should be removed, you think somebody is going to sympathize with you. If they are doing this because they hear that somebody says you should be removed, so they are rather deepening the hole for their removal. Because the people who should actually sympathize with them when people call for their removal will no longer sympathize with them because of their actions. How do you tell me that the court orders they go and count and declare results? You tell me you won't do it because you are now written to the police. Police say they have written to AG. All kinds of things that people can say is a manipulation. So how do you expect anybody to sympathize with you? There's no need for any rerun. A court order says go and count and declare. If you should go and count and declare, whichever party says I am not happy, let the person go to court with their evidence. Whatever direction the court gives you, you follow. Because for now you are backed by a court order that go and count and declare. All this nonsense about rerun, you are actually disobeying the court order. And you are sitting there and you think that one person should be removed. Somebody will come and defend you. I cannot defend you when you are obeying the court of the land. The court says go and count and declare. You turn around and come and tell us that you want to go and rerun. You go to parliament and tell us that there are only 3. Electoral commission tells that for the 7 months they have been sitting there and they went to parliament 3 weeks ago, they didn't know that there were 19 citizens. So if you change from 3 to 19, why do you expect people not to tell that you are being controlled? So you see, the way they are doing their things there, and see, most of the time we think that is the people. I think that we are focused on the people, but I think that we should focus on the system and find ways to block them from doing these things. I think somebody should cite the electoral commission for contempt. Jean Menster and the deputies should be set out for contempt by now. Probably if they are sent to someone for 3 days for disobeying the court. Next time, or maybe next time, no easy person will disobey a court. Because it is dangerous for somebody who is holding a public institution to disobey the court. And then we are letting the person go scot-free. Do you think that you, myself, or anyone sitting here disobey a court, would the court not cite us for contempt? Why is nobody citing EC and the people for contempt? I think by now someone should cite them for contempt and the court should give them 3 days in Nsawam. If that happens, next time somebody sitting there will know that I don't have power more than the court. This kind of explanation they have given us, or is in bunkus, is completely useless explanation. The best thing is what should be done. Go and count the remaining 3 polling stations and declare the results. That's what the court has asked you to do. When you do, you are done. Simple. Whoever is unhappy, go back to the court. If the court comes with a different directive, you follow the court. But this thing that we are sitting down, so this is
was that court decision challenged?
Nobody has challenged it. It's not been challenged anyway. The explanation but Masari gave was that when they got the order, they wrote to police that they need protection. And then the police wrote to them that they are also seeking advice from Attorney General. And that they have not received the Attorney General advice. That's why they are not. Which kind of, in fact, it's as if you are talking to some mental patients in this country.
It's okay.
It's like they are talking about mental patients.
It's okay. Thank you.
It is why the gentleman there called Eric Bosman is one of the failed commissioners that was appointed to that place. I mean, the inconsistency we're talking about, isn't it him? Ordinarily, I should keep quiet. Someone thinking, it's not even, nothing shows anything is in my favor or in the NDC's favor. You get what I mean? But Eric Bosman has been one of the worst deputies we have ever seen. He was so hot-headed and could sit on platforms, and you saw his utterances. Very unpalatable, and he could even use unprintable words on political parties, and he felt he had arrived and he was doing all this. So you see, you were the one who even sat somewhere or went to meet Parliament. So it means that after 7 months, they have now realized, and he even realized, that even the 3 he went to mention in Parliament was not it after all. And he knew that if he dared and they tried to just go do that 3, there will be future troubles. And so, okay, let's now look. That is why we believe that if they had taken further scrutiny, they would have realized that the all 30-something should actually be rerun. It only tells you the idiom that there are square pegs in round holes. And so I don't know if Elvis is surprised at the surprises being pulled by the Electoral Commission, because we are not surprised. These are the people we have been talking about consistently, that they were not fit for purpose. They could not be the ones to run our elections. You recall, I keep repeating this.
But they run an election that brought you to power.
Oh yes, but you see, but for our own vigilance, it should have been worse off. Do you know that in the history of Ghana, for the first time, this was the only election where ballot papers were scattered almost everywhere at polling stations? How? And you saw stamps, EC stamps, so compromised, everything so compromised. Look, I do not wish we visit that again. But look at over 1.5 million ballot papers that were stuffed at places in the Ashanti region, which are supposed to be padded into the ballot boxes. So if 65% people turn up in the Ashanti region, then the other 35 is padding that is put in
but
there.
Is that the doing of the EC?
I'm only giving an example. I'm not saying
that's not the doing of the EC, is it?
I want to land.
You see,
I don't want to interject, but no, I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm coming.
Go.
You know, when you throw these figures out, where is your evidence? Oh, I'm coming. No, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Good.
Won't be a big interjection. If I allow you to continue, we know what happens across board.
Right.
But you have to understand the audience that we're speaking to. If it goes unchallenged, and I know we had this issue. Do you remember this very conversation?
I do.
You know, sometimes somebody can set you up, and it's never the case in terms of, oh, you padded this, stamped this. I'm just saying. That's my interjection. That there's no evidence. Do you get me? And sometimes somebody can set you up and say, well, this is it a case that
no, Ibrahim? Are you saying you never saw all those ballot papers that was impounded by my boss, Joseph Yamin, and I can give you further details.
But continue your submission.
The gentleman in question, who was aiding you guys to do these things, had to seek asylum to be out of this country.
What's his name?
Well, I will not give
that.
You get it. At the right time, if you want us to, we will do that.
That's fine.
He's in the United Kingdom now. Because you people would have
given the name.
Why should I do that?
Come on, Ibrahim, we can't do that here.
No problem.
You know we can't do that.
Why not?
It was Intel that got us to fish out all of that. And it is so bad that that is the extent to which things could be done. But we are not here today for that. That is why I'm saying that. But for our own vigilance, a lot wouldn't have gone in our favor. A lot wouldn't have gone in our favor. You recall even the utterances of some of their own people. He may not have said that. Brian Achampon and all because they were so convinced that their systems was going to work the way they wanted it. And that is why I would say kudos to our elections director, Dr. Omani Boama, the team and the leadership. It is where I'll continue to say, if until the NPP realize the need for them to change their leadership, they will continue misleading them into this abyss, and they'll be digging further, and they'll be sinking.
Right.
Look, anyways.
Ablekuma, thank you. Ibrahim, yes. Final thoughts on Ablekuma North.
I think in terms of the three of us are in sync. I don't think anybody has a different view on what needs to happen, because we looked at reasons why all of us are disappointed in the proclamation or the opinion now that 19 and everybody's view has been focused on that. How do we get from 3 to 19? Answer that question. That's why I said earlier in my submission, have you carried us along this journey, arriving at that? And I'm happy that Elvis just mentioned that 3 weeks ago. He reminded us that Bosman Asari was in Parliament.
Under oath.
Under oath. Thank you, Nana. Saying that 3, where did you just get out your magic hat and produce these additional 16 polling stations? I'm not against the expansion if you tell us why.
Okay.
Are you following me? That's why I even said that we all know, and right now, if those 19 polling stations are mentioned, you can Google right now, because, you know, the data is that granular, is at that detail. You know which polling station results are there from 2012 onwards, or 2008 to 19. I mean, the data is there. So we know that this particular polling stations, NDC wins consistently, or this particular polling stations, NPP wins consistently. I don't have an issue with the expansion, but tell me why the expansion? What happened? And so that's my final submission on this point, and that's what court injunctions are there for. Elvis made a fantastic point. I sat here listening with keen attention. Fantastic point. You've been given a court order.
Execute the order.
Execute that order.
That settles it.
Why? And it's something that, anyway, I don't want to add more to my submission, but it's clear.
Very well, very well. There's a message here that says, good morning. I'm really surprised the other two panelists are finding it difficult to understand what Elvis is saying. The fees are meant to reduce some cost burden on Ghanaian students. Did the two panelists understand the cost of expanding the infrastructure across the tertiary universities? Let me tell you, my brother, no Ghanaian citizen will choose a private university over a public university when it comes to tertiary education. Okay, this is A.B. Baba in Ashaiman sending that. Well, this is in reference to the no fees issue. But on the issue of money doubling scam, Elvis, an grad that gets 15 years. Some say it's too much. 1 minute. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think people have not followed because there is the argument that this is a first-time offense. But court record shows that she's been found guilty of similar offenses in the past, and the expectation was that she will stop doing what she is accused of doing.
She changed the formula.
And the judge also said, exactly, change the formula. And then the judge also said, actually, throughout the trial, she didn't show any remorse in terms of the entire trial. So I think that the argument whether it's too much or not, the bottom line is, did the judge exceed?
No.
If the judge did not exceed sentencing,
they didn't even do the maximum.
If you don't exceed the sentencing, then I don't think that we should just be emotional. I see a lot of comments that people say it makes them happy on social media, so they don't want it to. They wanted to come back because
nice.
So it's not about law. People are not really concerned about the law. But you see, this Agrada issue, we have to be very careful. You see, I've watched videos. People actually narrate how they lost money to this woman. It's unbelievable. Look, I don't think that if that happened to me and this woman is jailed 15 years, I'll say it is too small. I may even say it is less. Probably you the one saying that the term is too much. Maybe you are not a victim. But if you listen to the victims, and I've watched several videos, several people talk about several instances, how they lost money. One gentleman said he sold his car, brought it to Agrada. The money was taken from him. When he went to challenge, he was actually beaten and left to die by the roadside, dumped somewhere in the bush. It took the benevolence of someone passing by who saw him to rescue him and give him transport. You know, he came all the way from Kumasi. I watched another lady talk about the fact that the grandmother left her gold and that she carried on because the grandmother said gold has spirit, so she should look for a spiritual person to pray on it before she sells it. She took the entire gold to the Agrada, and for over 5-6 years now, she's unable, her effort to get the gold back. He's been to the police, and that is something that really strikes me. That a lot of the people may complain that when they complain about Agrada to the police, the rather becomes like they are the ones that are under arrest, under investigation. So the police in that area, the IGP and the people in Ghana who are concerned about judicial system should look at the issue at that place in terms of how the police treat such complaints. And I think that if it had happened to me, what I've heard from people, if it happened to any of my family members, I would have wished that Agrada is giving more years than what she's been given.
Thank you.
Let's not be hypocrites.
Ibrahim, your thoughts?
This thing started in 2022. I'm hoping that people understand the history. 2022, when she was arrested on these things. Elvis has touched upon it, Nana. People's lives have been turned upside down. People have borrowed money. If somebody has committed suicide because of this, we don't know. But financial stress can bring all these things about. And like you said, she has shown no remorse at all. And you know what they do sometimes? When your money does not double, inverted commas, they'll say you doubted the process. There was spiritual interference.
You did something else.
We told you it's secret. You let out the secret. So you have to pay more money to purify the thing that you did. I mean, they give you such bogus excuses for their fraud. And it's not just fraud, it's fraud that destroys families. For somebody to be so desperate to double their money, you can imagine where they are, and you take advantage of them. I'm talking Agrada, psychologically to do that. When people, sometimes we will accuse the people. Why were you so, excuse my language, foolish? But the person is in a desperate situation, looking for a way out.
And once you're advertising in the media, you look legit. And that's my problem. That's why I have an issue.
We need it as a deterrence. It provides a social awareness and education for everybody, Ghanaians listening, that these get-rich-quick schemes don't work.
Very well.
So I'm very happy, and I don't say that on a personal point, but for the victims, that they are getting justice with what has happened.
Right.
Yeah, maybe somebody hoped you'll get 7.5 years, and they just doubled it to 15.
Very well.
Am I right? That's what we call a double scam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Elegam, you have the final take on this.
Yeah, this reminds me of some years back when I visited the middle, or not the northern, but the Hafo area there. Yeah. And when I was listening to radio adverts, TV adverts, and a lot of TV stations that were just focused on scam. And I asked myself if there was any proper monitoring of this act. Look, me, I don't think for the rest of my life I will ever stake lottery. Because I believe it's more or less like reaping where you have not sown. And so I do not even believe I have. Let me give you the example. During 1988 Indotech at Trade Fair. My dad and I, we came from the Volta region to Indotech. And there are little raffles you do and you win something and all that. My younger brother won a Casio watch and every other thing. I never won a thing.
You don't have luck.
That is it. So I don't even believe. So I believe that where I have not sold, I'm not going to reap anything.
No, Ajana 1, Ajana 2.
No. So I don't. So when I see these things, I wonder why people become so gullible. But like you said, some of them are in very deep, pardon my language, deep shape that they feel at this moment it is only some miracle that can take them out. Then you have these charlatans displaying themselves with people calling in, programmed to call in and give evidence that I am a living testimony to these, all these schemes. I think that the various authorities responsible for this should clamp this down. We must sanitize the system. I am not going to hide the fact that I am very happy and I feel that 15 years was even too small.
Wow.
Because it should be to serve as a deterrent to the many people. Only God knows how many victims are watching us today. Even though the full justice have been served, they will still never get their monies back. Only God knows how many people have committed suicide as a result of this and will not make the world know. So look, we must. And lastly, this is a bit even personal. When I saw some of her utterances in the lead up to the 2024 elections, when she was campaigning for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, you are free to do so. But the kind of very unprintable and unpalatable things she said about John Dramani Mahama. This was the same person who was trying to now hug him. And what
she got the hug and she was jailed the day after. She was jailed the day after hugging the president. Thank you so much, gentlemen. This was very good. We'll find time and do this again. Thank you so much. This has been the news review segment on. My name is Nanatu Fuabwate. The show continues after this.
My name is Dr. Mebizori Kwasari, a food scientist and CEO of Impact Food Hub. We are a leading food innovation and agribusiness development organization dedicated to bridging the gap between research and innovation with industry. In line with our commitment to build stronger entrepreneurs and smarter agribusinesses, Impact Food Hub proudly presents the Agribusiness Launchpad and Accelerator Program. This is a transformative 4-day learning experience designed to equip aspiring and existing agripreneurs with practical tools, expert mentorship, and hands-on exposure to grow and scale their food and agribusiness ventures. Whether you're planting your first crop or scaling up for market, Launchpad 2025 will empower you to take your agribusiness to the next level. So join us from the 9th to the 12th of July 2025 at the Stanbic Bank Business Incubator, Silver Star Tower. So why join Launchpad 2025? Because your agribusiness idea deserves more than a dream. It deserves the tools, training, and support to grow into sustainable, market-ready enterprise. Let's help you turn your food idea into a competitive brand that creates impact.
In a fast-growing urban environment like Accra, safety should not be too far-reaching. It should be as easy as ABC. Hear the real stories from those who now feel safe like never before with Response 1.
We were held at gunpoint in our own home, and they got away with it.
We didn't have Response 1 back then. That was the most terrifying experience of our lives.
But after that, we subscribed to Response 1 to ensure that never happens again. The last time the hoodlums tried, we had installed Response 1 monitored alarm system. Their response team arrived, followed by the police, to ensure we are safe.
Don't wait for tragedy to strike. Protect your home with Response 1's monitored alarm system and our theft protection guarantee. Immediate response, real protection. Response 1, stay connected, stay protected.
Every day, people have money emergencies. Ma, I need my school fees emergency. Mommy, chop money emergency. Emergency. Catch it. I'm your rent emergency. Now, there's a new emergency number in town.
More money, challenge and enjoyment. At the top life we got.
Dial star 770 hash for all your money emergencies and chop life.
Dial star 770 hash for money emergencies and get easy and quick access to your money, loans, and other banking needs. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Where politics meets power, where the tough questions are asked, welcome to Face to Face. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m., join Umaru Sanda Amadou as he takes you face to face with the key players shaping the future of our nation.
I lost over $10 million at the trade fair.
You had a fight with the management of trade fair?
I don't have a fight with them. I just deplore the way they went about what they did.
Let's talk about the chief prosecutor of the state at the time that you were being prosecuted, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, the Attorney General.
Yes. I think he was directed to jail us.
By who?
By the system.
Boku has been a failure for your government, though.
Can't be a failure.
You have not solved it.
No, you are not praising them, the previous government for solving Yendi, which was even a more difficult case.
It's quite obvious that from these votes, the people felt that let's just let you go.
So they were disappointed in
us.
You are essentially the worst government in the Fourth Republic.
Bigless, shell, theodities, fall, out.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, what we are witnessing now are the Bigless marching to take their duty positions. New posts work together. First, relief. Relief, move.
to the left in single file. Let's set. Step up together. Quick. March. Left, right, left. Let's go.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the old and the new guard commanders are now marching with the new century. The guards will be giving instructions as to what to observe